Sir. Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer and I'm also joined by my co-host 𝙒𝙬𝙤𝙦 as we bring you daily global insights 343. A couple of very important developments in and around the world. But first, let's welcome our co-host 𝙒𝙬𝙤. Namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskar. Good morning to everybody on this bright Friday morning.
𝙒𝙬𝙤, I have starting with the United States dollar and its strength, sir. It has been making a lot of, going from strength to strength, and this is putting a pressure on many other things, such as the T bonds. Those yields are going at all-time high, and now it is expected that Fed will again raise rates by 0.75%. That's a steep rise, sir. I mean, do you think the real estate markets can take that?
Well, I think there are a number of questions that you unpacked in your first opening remarks. First and foremost, I think the dollar is rising purely because of relatively weak economies around the world. I think we have covered that. That's the first part. The second is that there's an asymmetric rise of the rates. If we can show you one chart, which is a chart which shows the 10-year, 2-year, 3-year, even 1-year T-bonds. If you take a look at the rates, the 1-year T-bond is at 3.599%, which is 3.6%, which is greater than the dividend yield from some of the topmost stocks in the U.S. market. The 2-year is still attractive at 3.5. The 3-year is attractive at 3.521. The 5-year is still around 3.93. So what's happening is there's a flight of capital towards the U.S. T-bond. Doesn't matter which duration you pick. As a result, you can see that there is pressure on the US dollar. And with Chairman saying he's maniacal about focusing on rates, all institutions in the markets are that there's a 75
𝙒𝙬𝙤, I must stop you. Sir, your volume has gone really low. Do you mind logging back in, sir? Logging out and logging back in? Something is wrong with your volume. We may have to start from the same news item, sir.
Okay.
Oh, it's much better now. Hold on. Don't say anything. Please continue, sir.
Okay, great. Can you hear me? Sometimes I speak loud, so therefore I try to reduce. So I think the objective of pointing out this chart is the rising rates. So rather than putting your money in what you call as the value stocks, there's money going into the U.S. bonds, T-bonds. Whether it is 1-year, 2-year, 3-year duration, the yields are extremely attractive. So this is the reason why you are beginning to see pressure on U.S. dollar, and U.S. dollar continues to rise, and with no abatement in rate, with 75 basis points likely increase in the short-term rates that the central bank lends to the market. So the prime rate is going up by 75 basis points, and they say that that's the only way they can control inflation. And Baynard, one of the Fed governors, has said the rates could be as high as 4% as we step into the next year in 2023. That's a very steep rate, which we have not seen for a long time.
Now, 𝙒𝙬𝙤, this is going to be coordinated with other Western republics, do you think, sir?
I think that there will be a coordinated raise. Otherwise, there will be further downward pressure on their currencies. They have to synchronize. So there will be corresponding rises. And, now I'll respond to your question, which is namely the mortgage rates. The mortgage rates have been steeply rising around the world. We will show you a chart which is to show just two rates, the Australia and US mortgage rates, which is the next chart. Yeah. This is the Australian mortgage rate in the last 12 months from around the same period. From about 2% today, a 30-year mortgage is costing around 6.2% in Australia. Just see the rise just in last 3 months. I will not be surprised by the time we get to the end of the year or first quarter next year, this rate rising up to about 8%. And take a look at the US. This is the US mortgage rates. US mortgage rates has climbed from less than 2% or 2.25% to almost 6%. It had a brief blip when there was economic pressures in US and continued economic pressures. And then when the inflation rates went up and they decided to raise the rates, you can see the mortgage rates now 6% is it's almost 300% increase to where we were less than 1 year ago. So to answer to your question, if you haven't locked in your mortgage, you better lock in your mortgage rates to whatever is the near term that you feel comfortable with, it 1 year or 2 years. The rates are going to rise. There's no doubt about that, and that means that eats into your wallet.
So people are expecting the job data to be along the lines of the predictions. Therefore, they think that the US economy is weathering this storm quite well. Is that why the rates might be going up, sir?
The rates are going up basically because the Fed rate is going to increase. That means there is called as the spread. When the cost of borrowing, the prime rate is going up, then the lending rate to the commercial retail market also goes up because they have to take money from the market, which is namely the bank-to-bank lending, and also from the central bank, and then they have to fund the customer, and they make the net margins are used. So always, if you're going to have a 4% prime central bank lending rate, don't be surprised if your mortgage rate is somewhere between 7 and 8%, at least in US. But in Indians, I think in India, I am told that today's lending rate is around 8.25, 8.3%, because we have a lot of Indian listeners, and their prime central bank lending rate is around 5.4%, relative to United States, which is around 2.25%.
Sridharji, the Indian-made second aircraft carrier, INS Vikrant, with a new Indian ensign was commissioned in Cochin shipyard by the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It's massive, it's a giant, and it is a distinct and special flag that India has dropped some of the aspect from the previous flag that used to have some British after effects. That's now dropped. And this is an impressive thing because this is a aircraft carrier, isn't it, Sridharji?
It's a massive aircraft carrier. It is indigenously built, so which means they can maintain, manage, and service it. There's been a number of debates going on in India whether they should have a third fleet, third carrier. I think they're looking at building the third carrier. And with the reason that India is no longer protecting its eastern and western borders, but it is also has strategic missions deep into Indian Ocean and Indo-Pacific. You remember that there's a contemplation that India may even be called into South China Sea and across further into Indian Ocean, into the Malacca Strait. So I think you are looking at a situation where India has demonstrated to the world it is quite capable, just as very much China has demonstrated to the world that they can build large carriers. So it's a great news for India.
And in the second news about India, India's imports from Russia have fallen drastically, I think about 25%. And now, once again, Saudi Arabia is India's biggest exporter of oil. Is that correct, Sridharji?
That's absolutely correct. I think in the last 2 months, Saudi Arabia has risen to number 1 position. Iraq has fallen to number 2 position. I think Russia is somewhere there, but United States is still in the top 4 within as exporting nation to India. Remember that India also has significant refining capacity. Many of these people as well use India for refining, thanks to Adani's and thanks to Reliance. Reliance also has a strategic partnership with Aramco, which is Saudi. So you are beginning to see strategic sourcing of energy, India putting to play and not being reliant on one specific partner. If you all recall, India had tremendous criticism for buying abnormal oil from Russia and trying to violate the sanctions, and India gave a rebutting answer to that.
And UN inspectors assess Ukraine nuclear plant damage and say that its integrity has been violated. And is Europe under a threat of rising energy prices now that Nord Stream 1 gas line has been temporarily shut off by Russia? And also the news that Lukov's CEO got pushed out or jumped out of a window to his death. That reeks of a conspiracy theory, Sridharji.
Well, first and foremost, I think if you recall, yesterday you asked me a question, and lo and behold, that there's a research that has come out. They expect some kind of a civil war and a crisis in Europe as a result of major issues emerging from energy prices as well as lack of availability, which could put tremendous amount of pressure in the cold winter. Very similar to what happened during the COVID period when people began to conduct marches around various European states. The nuclear plant is a worrying issue. IAEA has made the claim that the plant has compromised, integrity has been compromised. Both sides are making claims, but the fact is, it's very unfortunate. It is the largest nuclear plant. As far as the Nuco oil is concerned, this is the 8th person from the energy industry who has died in less than last 12 months or so, or even last 8 months or so, creating some issues around what is going on. Is something not right? So many of these communist nations, you hardly get to know what the truth is, but it does raise huge amount of anxiety amongst people as to whether he was not compliant with the regime.
And now Taiwan's shooting down of a Chinese drone was an appropriate response, says the premier of Taiwan. And South Korea's national security advisor said that he and his counterparts from US and Japan have agreed that there will be no soft response in case North Korea conducts a nuclear test. I think Taiwan has responded now, and I think we have to wait and see how China retorts back. And this new thing about South Korea's determination is again telling us that that area is becoming extremely sensitive now, sir.
It is becoming extremely sensitive. There's very positive development, which is namely the South Korean regime, which was reluctant, the past regime, Moon Jae was reluctant to come to some kind of understanding with the Japanese, still, ruminating on their ancient wounds. But the present regime, which has changed, has decided in strategic interest to work with Japan. So they had in Hawaii a trilateral meet between the United States, the national security ministers of the three nations. They agreed that they will not keep quiet should there be a nuclear detonation. By all indications, there's an expectation somewhere between September and October, there will be a nuclear detonation from North Korea. Should that happen, they said there will be a joint and disproportionate action that the three nations will pursue in partnership with the rest of the world.
And lastly, we still don't know if a special master is going to be appointed or not, but we will give you that update tomorrow or the next DGI because we are coming up against the end of the week. Sridharji, safe travels, and viewers, please do join us at 8 o'clock. We have a special program, and tomorrow we're going to have a program with General Ravi Shankar on this Vostok or Vladivostok exercises between India, Russia, and China. What is its significance? And so on and so forth. So do join us for those two. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and also click on the bell button for notifications. And if you think you like our content, consider donating using the super thanks button. Thank you very much, Sridharji, and have a great weekend. Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar. Thank you so much. You all have a wonderful weekend, and take care of your mortgage rates.